Music and Sky I guess it's a festival, but it's not really a festival. It's something different. We're going to talk about it. But it's coming up in October, the next gathering of Music and Sky, and October 13th through the 16th. We're going to tell you guys a little bit about it, but we want to kind of tell you why we feel like it's worth talking about. So just a little bit about our story. Before we moved out here to this property, we lived in Laguna Beach, and Lauren and I's pretty much in the first day or two after I was hanging out with her, she played me a video on YouTube of she's way into philosophy and studied a lot of philosophy at school. She was playing me videos of some different philosophers, and then she said, I want to show you this guy that I'm really interested in. His name's Mark Passio. And we watched a video of Mark Passio together, and I immediately was like, holy shit, like this is something. So we kind of like dove headfirst immediately into all of his work, and we started just basically having his podcasts going all the time. We were in the car and driving together, and that was like something that was like right away early on a part of our relationship. So it's pretty cool to be understanding, coming to experience and understand certain aspects of natural law and morality, etc., and worldviews and esoteric things, etc. So we got to a part, I guess it's, I don't know, a couple hundred podcasts in, and he kind of starts basically guilt tripping everybody that is listening to him that's not doing something to make the world better, not doing something with the knowledge and information that they have.
You wrote papers in college? Why aren't they published?
Yeah, so why don't you talk about so Lauren started to feel guilty, and she was constantly like saying stuff to me. She's like, I feel like we're supposed to be doing something. We got to do something.
Yeah, right? And especially with everything that I studied in school too, I was like, what am I doing? I feel like I need to be doing something, but I just wasn't really sure what it was yet. And so I just got inspired, and I started writing down sort of like a manifesto, I guess. I don't even really know what to call it. But it's what's in the homepage of our website. And before it became a website, it was just something that I wrote down, and I was we decided together that we were going to call it Truth, Love, and Freedom after.
Wait. So she wrote this thing down. She didn't just write it down. She typed it, and she put it on a trifold piece of paper and got it printed, and we printed up a bunch of copies of it, and we started carrying them around with us. And anytime we'd get into an interesting conversation with somebody, or we'd feel like they were somebody who might benefit from it, receive it, etc., we'd say, hey, wait a minute, I want to give you something. It's not religious, it's spiritual, it's just about consciousness and some concepts that are worth pondering, etc. And it was really pretty well received. We got people come back to us and say, hey, that was great, like, thank you, that really meant a lot to me. Sure, go ahead. Just get out of here. Yeah, go.
Three times, try.
So we were feeling like people were connecting with this, and we were seeing some people that were like really profoundly impacted by kind of how we felt about like listening to Mark's work, and because it was kind of just a synthesis of a lot of concepts that he puts together. So one of the other things we did was we came up with a little a questionnaire of like 10 questions.
Well, this was inspired also by Mark, for those of you who are familiar with him or who have seen his documentary,
Check
Natural
him out.
Law,
What on earth is happening?
Science of Natural Law. He basically went around and asked people a bunch of questions, and they were really interesting questions, and I made up our own list of them that was very similar to things he asked, including things like, is morality relative? And most everybody said yes. And then at the end I asked, do you consider yourself a moral person? And almost everybody said yes. It was very interesting. But it was a fun thing that we were doing too. It was getting people talking who were like going to a concert or a music festival and not necessarily like there for that reason. So we were like stimulating everybody's minds and getting them to think about it. And then after that, we just decided we needed to name it something.
Well, we decided we think we needed a website, and then we were like, how are we going to do that? We didn't name it, so we got a piece of paper out, and we started writing out all these concepts and ideas of the things that were important and about like natural law, morality, and naturally the words truth and love and freedom kind of like floated up to the top of the list. And so I looked on GoDaddy, and truthlovefreedom.com was taken. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I think I looked at something else, and I was like, wait a minute, what about truth, love, and freedom? And I went back, and it was available. And I was like, hold on. I was like, you're not going to believe this is like an available website. But I was like, I think I'm going to buy it. And I did it, and I got a confirmation. I was like, I think we have that website. So anyway, it was like,
We weren't really sure what to do with it.
I couldn't believe it. I kept like thinking like, wow, this is like
what I had
kind of
written.
yeah. So we put the brochure on it. And that was it. So the website was the brochure. It was just on the website. So you go to the website and you'd see the brochure. And then we were like, well, we need a logo. So we started looking at some different, we like sacred geometry and find it interesting. And so we already knew conceptually we wanted to incorporate some of that. And then the triune heart just kind of naturally floated in front of my face, and I was like, what a perfect representation for truth, love, and freedom. And the triune heart is perfect. So then we were like, well, let's put a book underneath it that will represent like knowledge, which is where real freedom comes from, and liberty. And so I got an Illustrator thing that I never used before, and I probably did everything the wrong way. It took me like many hours to make this logo on it, and I got it finished, and I put it on the website. We're like, okay, now we have a website. We have a logo, website, awesome. And here it is. We're done. And then the next week, so we're Deadheads, so there's a band called the Grateful Dead. Google it if you don't know anything about it. But anyway, we met dancing to Grateful Dead music at this band called Cubensis. They're like a Grateful Dead cover band in LA. And we weren't, I'm still not, on social media. And so I really didn't know how to find out what was going on. And I would go to Cubensis' website, and I went to their website, and they were playing at this music festival. And so I clicked on the link to it. It's called Music and Sky. So I clicked on the link, and the first thing I saw was at the top of the page was the triune heart was the logo for Music and Sky. And this is about a week after I just finished making this website. Like, well, it was cool. I was like, this is cool. Look at this. Cubits is playing. Look what they use. The same thing. So I just quit my job, I don't know, not a couple months before that. And I was like, well, I can't really afford to just buy a bunch of tickets to go to a music festival right now. We're trying to like figure some stuff out. So a week later, I go back on Cubensis' website, and I click on the thing at the very top of the website for Music and Sky. It said truth, period, love, period, freedom, period, with our logo basically underneath it. And I was like, what the fuck?
We're buying
tickets. So I literally just bought tickets right now. I was like, I don't care, I'm going to buy tickets. We have to go to this thing.
And then we checked out the lineup too. And of course, it's like people we're friends with or familiar with, and like about consciousness and health and freedom. And we're like, we're in. This is amazing.
5G, EMF stuff, whatever. So we were like, cool, we're supposed to go to this thing. So as we're driving into the place where it's held.
Well, before that, for those of you who didn't hear just a brief part of our story before we moved here, we lived in Laguna Beach, and we bought this home. As we were packing up,
your dad did.
My dad bought the home. As we were packing up all of our stuff, my dad was looking through everything in his office and throwing stuff out, and he comes out with this drawing that he did when he was about 7 years old, and he's like, look what I found, you guys. And it has a pond with a little boat and ducks on it, and a barn, and like the just the whole thing, the hills, and above it says Blue Hill Farm. And I was like, that's the name of our farm. This is so perfect. And he just was like, whatever.
He says, that's not a very good drawing.
Yeah, I wasn't a very good artist.
But that's the hills from his drawing. We like projected them onto something and traced them to kind of bring it. And so it's like, so anyway, so Blue Hill Farm.
So we named it Blue Hill Farm. And then after all of this journey with discovering Music and Sky, we get up to the retreat center where the festival was, and it's called Blue Mountain Retreat Center. We're like, okay, this just keeps happening. There's like something really deep here with this. So,
and then we proceeded to have an amazing weekend and meet a bunch of just like people like you guys, and probably people you guys know,
some of you were there.
or one degree of separation away from some people we didn't really meet there that are here now that were there. And one of the things that it modeled for us, well, first of all, we literally, so the experience that I had when we met you and we said, where do I know her from? That was it constantly with everybody we would meet there. We'd be like, we would be thinking like, what's this dude's name? I know him from somewhere. And they were like, no, we've never met before. Okay, well,
there was only one person I actually knew there, but every person I met, could swear I knew them from somewhere.
Yeah, it just felt very intentional. And there was the second night we were there specifically, there was like two people almost in a row that I met, that these grown men that I just met and was having a conversation with, and like 5 minutes later they were crying in my arms. I'm holding her, and she's like talking to someone else, and she's like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this like keeps happening. I don't know. So we were, the very last day, we were running around with a notebook and a clipboard and getting everybody's names and phone numbers, and we were like, we need to stay connected with as many of these people as possible. And so then we immediately, as the wheels started turning, we're like, we should have something at our at our home and property is like the same kind of a format. And one of the things that they did that was brilliant was that it wasn't a music festival. There wasn't really like a big emphasis on the music. It was about balance. And so it was kind of how we've set things up where during the daytime they had people, conscious speakers, and people talking on health and things that were going on in the world, current events, etc. And then they, after dinner, they turned to music and fire dancers and, you know, feeding that side of ourselves. So it was really good balance, and so we tried to kind of mimic it. And we always had the idea that right off the bat, the Blue Hill Farm was like the little version of the Blue Mountain place where this thing is going. Well, the way it panned out was we ended up connecting with Matt and Owen, and a couple of the guys that started Music in Sky and that run it. And Matt actually came out here on a Sunday a few of our events ago and was here at the end of the yoga class that I taught, and caught Yusuf Ignacio doing their sound bath, and met Jason up at the pool. Kat was here doing her voice yoga. Well, they invited all of them to come and share at the Music in Sky that was over Memorial Day weekend at this retreat center in Canada. So we really did become like the minor leagues for them. We were feeding, you know, talent and people. And not to brag, but I'm going to be teaching yoga at this next one coming up in October. On Sunday I get to do the yoga class, and I've got Frequency Flow are going to join me, and I'm really honored to have that opportunity and excited about it too. And that's what brings us to what we want to talk about. This thing coming up, we want as many people as possible to go.
Music in Sky is having another festival, and it's happening in October
13th through 16th.
And it's at a retreat center that's up north of LA.
Cuyama Valley.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, beautiful location. What's included in the cost is a completely catered weekend, so all of your meals are catered, and that's actually something that's really beautiful about it that we found, because at your average festival there's food vendors, and so people can eat whenever they want. Of course, that's great, but a lot of times people are making food at their camp, and it's separated. There's not this experience of like the inclusiveness.
A lot of work, you gotta do dishes, your coolers, the food's going bad.
This way the whole community gets to come together and eat together, and it's just really beautiful to see that all happening, and the conversations that are happening, and the food is amazing. So we highly recommend this festival.
It's more like it's not really a festival, it's like a soul family gathering is what they actually call it. And the emphasis is there's a lot of different, like there's going to be, I know they've got some tuning fork healers that are really advancing to be there, different practitioners of different
things. You're just going to have to check out their lineup.
Larkin Rose is going to be one of the keynote speakers there, who's a pretty well-known author and activist, voluntarist, anarchist. So it's that type of thing and that type of people. Check out their website. We've got actually a code. You can get $50 off of your tickets if you use Blue Hill 50.
Number 50.
So yeah, if you're interested, and I know like Alfonso was saying he was thinking about going, but he didn't know where he was going to camp, and I told him we would save a spot and he could camp next to us, and I'll extend that to anybody. So if you think you might want to go and you don't know who to go with, just connect with us, and we're going to be out there early, and we'll just save a spot for you. So we hope to see as many of you as possible. And if you can't make it, they have a lot of options too, so it's not cheap. It's like $550 a person. But when you think about how much money you would spend on food for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a part of a Sunday for every meal, and for an experience like that, it actually gets really reasonable really fast. They also have options when you buy your tickets where you can like split up the cost over 6 payments over multiple months. And so it's something that honestly, like, I would not be up here telling you that you should spend your hard-earned resources on something really, like this. But it's not just going and partying and dancing. It will honestly change your life, because it did change ours massively. And this is living proof, because none of you would be here if we hadn't gone to that. So we just wanted to give a shout out to that, and kind of give our hard sell that if you're looking for something to do in the middle of October, that's it. So thanks for listening.